To the Morning Watch with Stokeley. Marshall, you don't want to go anywhere. Stay tuned for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. And in the first watch today, the topic is the making and sentencing of guilty perverts. And in the second watch, water restrictions are here again. For our social media question, we ask, what should be the minimum sentence for those found guilty of a sex crime? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on the program, but first, as I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. So today's I quote is full of a bare French. So I'm just going to do the English version, right? It says, if you want peace, prepare for war.
And you said French, but would you like to say that in Latin, Mr. Dyer?
You want to try? You first. If you go first, I'm going to go after you.
And who is the author, Mr. Dyer?
You go first, and I go after you.
Mr. Dyer, these are some great Latin words here. Well, depending on how you look at it. But the author I'm seeing is it Publius, Flavius, Vegetius, or is it Vegisus?
Yeah, man. Man, that's it.
Renatus. Okay.
Now bite my tongue today.
And the English words in Latin are sivi pacem para, bellum.
Love that for you.
I hope I pronounced it properly.
I pray you did.
Good morning, Jakarta.
Good morning.
The first watch will be back after this break.
Jamaica, get ready for a first of its kind celebration. Stomp, the all-inclusive gospel party, Friday, August 29, 6 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. at Devon House East Lawns, featuring DJ Chinny and more. Enjoy powerful worship, uplifting performances, plus all-inclusive food and drink, all in one unforgettable day. Admission $13,000 general, children 10 and under $5,000. Get your tickets online at touchstonelink.com. Stomp 2025, where worship meets celebration.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
See so you can make the part, travel part, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
I'm sure you've heard it before. These young people are so entitled. But entitlement isn't just a youth problem. It can affect any of us who think we automatically deserve privilege or recognition. So, what does scripture say about entitlement on earth and in heaven? On this episode of The Rock, join guests Requen Allen and Jonathan Bagan for a bold conversation on the topic, the problem with being entitled. That's The Rock, Tuesday, July 22 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now, this is a pretty difficult subject for many persons to listen to, and for those viewing on YouTube to even watch. This is a topic of rape. It's a despicable act, and in and of itself, and it can involve an underage family member. Sometimes, when that happens, when a person is underage, the victim is underage, it takes on that much of a greater despicableness, if I could use that phrase. In recent weeks, we have had a couple of reports of these kinds of crimes, which in turn have made us ask ourselves some questions. We have here to discuss this issue today Chris Nesbeth, Associate Clinical Psychologist, Tea House Therapy, and Anthony Williams, an attorney at law. Mr. Williams and Mr. Nesbeth, good morning. Mr. Nesbeth, you sound very far away. Let's see if we can make an adjustment as far as we can on our end. Mr. Nesbeth, good morning again.
Good morning. Are you hearing me better now?
A little bit better, but we could probably hear you even better. But we'll see how we can work on that. Mr. Williams, good morning.
Yes, good morning, my friend.
Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear, Mr. Williams. Well, what makes an adult parent of a young girl take sexual advantage of this innocent child? And is there any punishment severe enough? Now, I could ask you firstly to respond, Mr. Williams, but I'm going to take it a little bit more from a psychological angle at the moment. Mr. Nesbeth, what could have gotten into the mind of an adult parent to do such a despicable thing?
So, usually when we think about adult men or any adult that is taking advantage of a child and it's sexual in nature, we think that they're sexually attracted to the child. And what is often instead the case is it's an extension of a corruption of power. So this person wants to have power over another person, and there's a twisted sense of what it means to be in relationship with other people. And so that power kind of extends and is twisted and corrupted and ends up in this kind of situation where it then enters a sexual territory and crosses that boundary.
I know you're not an attorney, but any punishment that is too severe? Or should
You know,
we go ahead, Mr. Nesbeth?
I find it difficult to step outside my own biases when it comes to punishments for these kinds of crimes because, as you said at the beginning, it's especially heinous, it's especially despicable. And so for me, I'm thinking chemical castration, life behind bars. To me, you really want to severely punish these kinds of acts and make examples of these men that or women or anybody who is perpetrating these acts against some of our most vulnerable people in our communities. You know, so to me, it's life sentence is the only thing that I think might be fitting the crime, fitting the severity of the crime.
You did not say capital punishment.
Well, that gets into a whole other mix of matters. But for me, and this might say something about my own psychology, but for me, the longer the punishment is the better. To me, certain punishments, in my own opinion, let people off the hook. So for me, really just living out your days.
Oh, so
in a way
capital punishment would be too easy. They would just die and it would be
Right.
the end of it.
To me, in my opinion, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. I mean, capital punishment is not the punishment for rape in Jamaica. I'm just
Yeah, man, I get
asking
you.
you what you think. Mr. Williams,
Yes, yes.
the despicableness of the act, using that term, despicableness, and the punishment. Your comments?
Yes, well, first of all, you did ask what would cause some men to behave that way, and the answer is very simple. It's really pervertness. These are men that have no moral values or attitudes. These are men who don't care about childcare and have no values in relation to protecting children. So these are men that have sexual immoralities on their minds. So it doesn't matter if it is their own child or children. And we have seen very recently where one man in particular had sexual intercourse with his stepdaughter, as well as having sexual intercourse with his own biological daughter. And then what was even more egregious was for him to traffic them to other persons. So it's really a perverted mind. And until that is fixed, then the society is going to have a problem. So what is the center in their mind? The pivotal thing in their mind is just having sexual intercourse with minors at all costs for what I would classify as sexual personal gratification. And we have the laws under the Sexual Offences Act, which punishes carnal abuse, which punishes incest, which is having sexual intercourse with a relative of yours, family member, particularly father, daughter, yes, etc., or a niece or any relative. In relation to the punishment, well, the minimum sentence is 15 years for the offense of rape, etc., and the maximum can be life imprisonment. So far, I think the laws are very appropriate for these type of sentences.
15 years? Mr.
Yes.
Williams?
Yes, 15 years, minimum.
15 years would be appropriate.
No, I'm saying minimum sentence.
I know
Sentence.
you said it's the minimum, but 15 years might sound short to many people.
Well, agree, but not all the circumstances are the same, and perhaps that's so. When the judge is going to sentence, the judge would have to, first of all, based on our sentencing guidelines, have to state what is the range of sentencing, and then the judge would have to select a starting point. Once the judge selects a starting point, then the judge would add or subtract based on mitigating circumstances or aggravating circumstances. So some judges start with the mitigating and reduce, and some start with the aggravating by adding. In a way you take it, they're going to have to include the mitigating and aggravating. But the key is the starting point. So some can start at 20 years and then add based on the factors that make it worse, which we call aggravating circumstances. Some can start at say 20 years and then they reduce based on positive factors for the accused person. Could be a first-time offender. He could have a good record in the community despite, and then make the additions. But anyway you take it, whether subtract first or additions first, they would have to do the balancing act.
Okay, Mr. Williams. And some persons may still not be satisfied with the explanation about the 15 years minimum, but be that as it may, sir. What or who in Jamaican society or culture is still allowing for this kind of heinous thing to happen? Chris Nesbitt, I know we're heading to a break already, but maybe you could start and we could finish your thought after the break. Go ahead, Mr. Nesbitt.
So if we kind of pull
in
back
the society and the culture.
Go again.
What about the society and the culture?
So generally, it's a society, it's a culture that will let people in authority know that whatever they say goes. So whenever it's a case of
interesting point you've raised there, Mr. Nesbitt, but we are now upon the break. Hold that thought. Do not lose that train of thought, sir. Please, asking you to hold that thought for a second there. Mr. Williams, we want your comments as well. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
The NWC wishes to advise the public that due to drought conditions, water supply regulations will come into effect for sections of the Kingston and St. Andrew area, starting on Monday, July 21 for the Mona and Hope networks and Wednesday, July 23 for the Constant Spring network. The supply times for each facility and the affected areas can be found at nwcjamaica.com or on social media. at NWC Jam. Customers affected by the water supply regulations are encouraged to store water for use outside of the scheduled supply hours and conserve water where possible. The NWC apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause and craves the patience and understanding of the public. Time on Love 101 is now 7:16 a.m.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and the topic is the making and sentencing of guilty perverts. Our guests are Chris Nesbeth, Associate Clinical Psychologist, and Anthony Williams, Attorney at Law. Mr. Nesbeth, just before the break, I had asked what or who in the Jamaican society or culture is still allowing this to happen. And you mentioned the whole matter of what one says goes when you are, for example, the man in the house. Continue, Mr. Nesbitt.
So if we remember that saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely, that's kind of the line I'm going down, where it is somebody who thinks that they can get away with these kinds of acts that then is going to engage in these kinds of acts. And it's when our society doesn't question the perpetrators, but, for example, blames the victim. Oh, you shouldn't have been wearing that. This is not, you shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. And then the perpetrator ends up getting off scot-free. And so, as a society, as a culture, what ends up making these people feel as though they can do these things is we create this culture where we don't talk about these situations, where we let the people know that they're in power and they can do whatever they want. And when the victims speak up, we don't tend to listen.
Okay, so is it that you have an issue with the man being the man of the house, and that is what is the major contributing factor? Is it that you think it's because people don't talk enough about these things? In other words, if you were to come down on a side, where would you place most of the weight on, Mr. Nesbitt?
The most of the weight would have to go, and it's not necessarily just men. I use men because that is the most common gender of perpetrators. But the majority of the blame does have to come under the psychology of these people who feel as though their victims, their bodies, their physical sense of self, that doesn't matter, that they have ownership over this person. So it's those of us who think that this isn't something that's going to scar somebody for the rest of their life, and that this is simply an act of me pleasuring myself, and this person should be okay with it. These are the people we have to put the vast majority of the blame on. I mean, there are other aspects of our of the situation that we have to put some blame on as well, but the person who actually does the act, the blame has to come squarely on their shoulders.
So, Mr. Nesbitt, I want to bring in Mr. Williams as well, but why are victims or persons who know what is happening, why are they keeping silent?
Yes, that's a good question. And the biggest thing is shame. Nobody wants to be labeled as a victim of sexual assault, as a victim of rape. There's a very big and deep fear that if somebody learns that about them, that is the only thing they will be seen as. So they won't be seen as a dancer, they won't be seen as a star athlete, they won't be seen as a student who brings home straight A's. They'll be thought of as that girl who was sexually assaulted by such and such person or such and such person.
I
And so
see.
that label.
Yes. So, in other words, doesn't that raise issues about how we as people in a culture look at things? Because you might have heard that someone is a victim of rape, or you might know that she is a victim of rape, and so forever and evermore, the only thing you think of her, or the thing you think of her mostly, is that victimhood state.
Precisely. Yes.
Wow. So in other words, you're not seeing her as a whole person anymore. You're just seeing this person as someone who was raped, and that's what you remember the most.
Yeah, that becomes a big part of their identity. And many people don't want that to be hoisted on them, to be put on them, for them to have to live life like that for the rest of their life.
And so they don't go to the police. They don't want to go to court to give evidence against the perpetrator. They just don't want anyone to know. Is it more? Some persons have made the case that, and I'm saying this not in the literal sense, but some persons will say, let me change it. Some persons will say, if you say something bad about the perpetrator, it will unsettle the family dynamics. Have you ever heard that, Mr. Nesbitt? And if so, what do you think of that?
That's very common. And it's very common because the perpetrators tend to be family friends or people in the family. And it's almost like we don't want to rock the boat. Because once you, for example, say, yes, my uncle did this to me, the entire family is different. The family cannot go back to what they were before that came out.
But
And
Mr.
so,
Nesbitt, it would mean that the family is, well, not the family as a whole. It would mean that the perpetrator is fake, wouldn't it?
could you say more on that one for me, actually?
In other words, wouldn't it mean that the perpetrator is actually fake? Fake.
Oh, as in like, yes.
So they're playing a role that's not real. So this lovely family dynamic you're speaking to is based on acting. The person who is being this nice person is really an actor or an actress.
Right. Yes, and there are different sides to them. And the victim might be saying to themselves, first of all, if I then shatter the fantasy, make everybody aware that this person is acting, then they're going to shoot the messenger, one. And two, they also don't get to live in that fantasy. So that victim is also going to have to come to terms with this person who they trusted is not who they were acting to be all these years. And so it's a 1-2 punch, and it's a lot.
Shatter the fantasy. That term that you used here on the Morning Watch this morning sounds very interesting. Shatter the fantasy. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
Victims of rape, Jamaican culture and society. You may have represented persons who have been charged for rape. You may have received instructions from persons who would have alleged that there was rape, that they were victims of it, or that they suffered some kind of interference sexually. Any comments? Because some will say, for instance, that the victim is lying. The so-called victim, they might even say it's a so-called victim, that maybe she just wants money, or she's just trying to be vindictive. She just wants to get this person in trouble. She wants to damage this person's reputation. And on the flip side, the victim is saying, well, you don't really know this person who you think is a great person. This person we think is a great person is the person who committed this heinous crime. Your thoughts, Mr. Williams?
Well, let me say this, that I have represented a number of persons who have been charged for rape. And the particular cases that I appear for those persons have been many instances where the allegations are false. Very, very false. I remember doing one where the complainant alleged that my client had raped her, but it was far from the truth. She was having a relationship with another man and came home very late and had to account for her lateness. And so she reported to her boyfriend that, she was actually raped, and that was not the case. She was having a relationship with another man. There are those who feel that when you say when you made the allegation of rape, it's the easiest and more cogent um, evidence for a police to get your attention.
Yeah.
And it is very sad, very, very sad. There are cases when the parties agree to have sexual intercourse and there's a change of plan. I remember one case where the young lady agreed to have sexual intercourse and her monthly menstrual cycle came in between. For her, it was a wrong moment, and worse for the gentleman, the wrong moment. And so there are changes of plan. But on the flip side, there are those cases where genuine instances of rape occur. The law is very clear that sexual intercourse must be consensual. I must repeat, it must be consensual. It must obtain the consent of the woman. The Sexual Offences Act is designed to protect the woman, not the man. It was never designed to protect the man. In order for consensual sex to take place, the woman must consent, and the law makes it clear that consent must not be obtained by fraud or by recklessness or by force. Now, a woman can consent initially, and you're having sex. Once she says, "Look, stop," or "I'm done," if you continue, then at that point, rape can occur. Okay?
And of course, there is the element of age in terms
Yes,
of...
and then right, and there's also the element of age under 16. Let me also make it very clear to the listeners that for the youngsters, that refer to the young females, they can't consent to sexual intercourse. The law does not give them that prerogative or authority. A minor cannot consent to sexual intercourse, but we all know that steps are afoot to change the legislation, especially those who are in relationships, and they do not rape the young man did not rape the lady, but they consent. And so, in those circumstances, it will be very hard and very difficult. You have two young lovers trying to discover, like Christopher Columbus themselves, but they eventually have sexual intercourse. There was no force, there was no intimidation, there was no fraud, there was no recklessness, but there was an absolute intercourse. These are some of the circumstances that the legislation is seeking to change, where two young lovers seek to explore themselves.
And of course, if the female yes, go ahead, sorry.
In relation to the earlier question too, as to why some of them keep it to themselves, and I agree with my co-presenter. They do so for several reasons. Sometimes out of shame. Sometimes they are threatened that if they talk, what will happen to them. Sometimes they don't want to face the reality, and it's a harsh reality, that they were raped. Oftentimes, it's a breach of trust. It's a deception, and the sexual intercourse takes place by a family member or a trusted friend, an uncle, a father. They don't want to tell the mother. The mother will never believe that. And as I said, some also do it out of fear and fear of reprisal, because if they do so, certain things may happen to them or their family members. So these are some of the reasons why they may keep it to themselves.
And for clarity, once the female is under 16, she cannot consent.
That is correct. She cannot. The law does not allow her that ability to consent. She's a minor.
We're almost out of time already, but the sex offenders registry, Mr. Williams, do you think it should be public?
I think so too. I think it should
be public.
Yes, I think it should.
Mr. Nesbeth, you think the sex offenders registry should be public?
Definitely. I think when someone in our community is perpetrating, we have a right to know and protect.
We are totally out of time. There's so much more we could have said. I want to even raise the whole matter of when males are interfered with, although that would not be rape in the technical sense. Mr. Williams would agree with that. The law doesn't call that rape, but alas, we are completely and totally out of time. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts this morning on a topic such as this. Listeners and viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Thank you very much.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
just about 7:31 a.m.
When you see opportunity, make sure you take it. So when I got a piece of land to grow things, I jumped at it. With my Jane Bank Small Business Loan, I grew the opportunity. I've reaped a whole new life for my family. Now my goods supply plenty market across the parish.
Jane Bank helps you grow your business with a Jane Bank Small Business Loan that is perfect for you. Borrow from $10,000 up to $1.5 million to help cover expenses. Visit janebank.com to get started today. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Are you ready for something mega?
Spend $6,500 or more before GCT. Drop your entry in the box and you can win a 2025 Hyundai Tucson. It's the Mega Wheels Tour promotion, April 5th to September 28th. Second prize, a $50,000 shopping spree every month for a year. Third prize, a $30,000 shopping spree every month for a year. Brought to you by Hyundai, Redstone, Heineken, True Milk, Rex, Walker's Wood, Downing, CPJ Daiquiri, and Carriers. Juice Concentrate. Only at Megamart. Locations island-wide. Megamart. Best value by far. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Rating Gaming and Laws Act.
Blessings from this is Sound G, and you can listen to my new song Rescue Me right here on Love 101 FM, the family station. This song is about God always being there, for he has rescued us from the kingdom of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his dear son. Colossians 1:13.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, lead stories include a headline, Foiled Hit. The police on Monday foiled a brazen daylight hit job. Hit job ending with the fatal shooting of 5 men and the seizure of 4 firearms during a reported gun battle along Jacks Hill Road in St. Andrew. We have here in the Gleaner as well. JLP, PNP trade blame after chaos at campaign rally. We now turn to the Jamaica Observer. Headline here, 5 alleged contract killers cut down by cops. And there's a photograph here with some police vehicles, police officers, and the police yellow tape along the road. Underneath it, it reads, investigators on the scene in Jacks Hill where 5 men were fatally shot in a reported confrontation with cops on Monday. That was just yesterday. And the photo here is attributed to Naftali Jr. And we also have in the Observer, old age crisis looms. Jamaicans urged to take insurance and pension planning seriously. The reporter here, Jerome Williams. Those and many other stories in our various newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, what should be the minimum sentence for those found guilty of a sex crime? If you have not done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Truth is, HIV affects everyone. Truth is, avoiding care leads to a weaker immune system. That means you could get really sick. The truth is, the hardest pill to swallow isn't the medication. It's the problems that follow when you don't take them. Let's get through this together. Remain in care. You can live life to the fullest with HIV. And that's the truth. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be looking at overcoming major illnesses, part 2. Recovering from a major incident like a heart attack requires a combination of medical treatment, lifestyle changes, and emotional support. By focusing on these things, individuals can overcome a major illness and reduce the risk of future cardiovascular events. You are invited to continue the conversation with our guests, medical doctor, Dr. Errol Williamson, and Mr. Edward Smith, aka Uncle Eddie, pastor at Antioch Gospel Chapel and evangelist working with open ear campaigners. He will conclude his recovery story after suffering a major heart attack. That's Wednesday, July 23rd at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, the Mailbox, Monday.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now for your responses to our social media question, which is, what should be the minimum sentence for those found guilty of a sex crime? Chikal?
All right, so we have responses. The first one comes to us from Captain Teach in Spanish Town. I believe 25 to life because though it is not murder, in most cases the victim's life is so greatly affected that it takes a lifetime to recover. Cherry in Spanish Town says, one could say life sentence or 15 years, but the question will still be if that is enough for these perpetrators who take away the innocence of a child. There is so many things that will and can affect that child for the full cycle of their life, psychologically, physically, and emotionally. We also have Tracy from Mona. Tracy says, I totally believe for a father to rape his child, he's really at a place of mental illness, very mentally sick. Total eradication of such species for me, thanks. Olga Cummings says the penalty for rape should carry more weight, such as a lifetime. These people do this act because the penalty is easy. This act is not reported because of the way the victims are treated by both family members and the police, who sometimes record the report. They treat the situation as a lie that the person was not even raped. Not every police officer should be the one taking the report.
Thank you, Chikal. I hope I got all the names. Captain Teach, Cherry, Tracy was one. Yes, and Olga. Thank you all for your comments. Keep those comments coming. Keep them coming. Thank you very much. We move right into the second watch. Changing gears a little bit, we're looking at water now. The National Water Commission, NWC, has announced water supply restrictions for sections of Kingston and St. Andrew. You know, we were once called, and still are called, the land of wood and water. I'm not sure when we might have stopped saying that. I think some of us still do say that, but between the many dry riverbeds and yearly water restrictions, it's not surprising that we appear to be needing water restrictions, as difficult as that is. And seeing that the restrictions have already started this week, let's get into the who, the where, the why, and when of it all. Here to discuss this issue today, we have none other than the acting corporate public relations manager at the National Water Commission, Mr. Delano Williams. Mr. Williams, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Sir Marshall. Good morning to your co-host and to your listeners. Thanks for having me.
Well, Mr. Williams, I do not know why you're coming to give us all of this negative news on this bright sunny day, but we are going to try our best to digest what it is you have come to tell us, sir. Now, the nature of the restrictions, is it just water lockoffs, low pressure, no swimming pool, no washing of cars, watering plants, etc.?
No, we haven't quite gotten to the prohibition as yet, but as a general caution,
Yeah.
the use of water for those purposes, or you call non-essential purposes, we would want to start limiting those
What do you call
as well.
what do you call what does the Water Commission call non-essential?
So essential purposes, the drinking of water, cooking, washing in terms of laundry, bathing. Those are your essentials.
What do you regard as non-essential?
Non-essential is where you're using probably water wantonly for washing cars, washing off of pavements, just for the aesthetics of it. If you're having to wash off grime and so on, then you can use it in a measured way.
What about watering the plants?
Watering the plants, I know some persons will tell me that their plants are part of their family, but we can use
Watering
what
the
they
lawn.
call grey water. Watering on the lawn is also not essential. But remember, I'm saying we're not at a prohibition point, but we can definitely start to slow down with some of those activities. I think you started out by saying
we're not at the prohibition point. So for
No.
clarity,
Yes.
what point are we at, and what does that point entail for the benefit of
So,
those
so
listening?
we are at regulations, which means that the persons who normally receive water 24 hours a day or close to 24 hours a day, those persons in the Kingston and St. Andrew area are now having water restrictions, meaning they are getting water for less hours. Most areas are getting it between either 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. or from 6 p.m. overnight into daylight. And we can go through those areas when you're ready for me.
Well, please feel free, and you might want to indicate what's the criteria that you use to decide which areas get water at what time. Go ahead, Mr.
All right. Yes.
Williams.
So for the regulations that started yesterday apply to the areas we call the Mona network, and the Hope network, which is from UTEC going in a straight line all the way down to Rockfort, which is down east side of Kingston.
Yeah.
And then extending west out to sections of downtown Kingston to include Tivoli Gardens, Denham Town,
Yeah.
and then you come up into the halfway tree area.
All right.
All right? Well, Crossroads area to be precise. All of those areas will be getting water between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. All right?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah.
Right. So they should have water now. They will lose water this evening at 6 p.m.
So
But
if you're one of those persons who reach home late, you'll have a challenge.
We have encouraged those persons to make some arrangement, whether you have a tank that can receive the water during this time, or if you need to have somebody at home collect water for you so you have water during the day, during the evening when you get home.
I see. So when I say late, I mean after 6 p.m. And you mentioned a straight line from UTEC down to Rockfort, and then westward to Tivoli Gardens and back up to Halfway Tree.
Come up also into New Kingston areas.
Okay.
Right. Vineyard Town, Crossroads. Where am I missing? Old Hope Road.
Yes.
Right. Use Old Hope Road as your guide. Most of the areas to the left and right of Old Hope Road will have this supply time.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. When you got down to Rockfort, you didn't go eastward.
No. There's another system that we operate in the Rennock Lodge area,
yes,
which substantially supplies the Florizel Glass Bowl Highway out to Harborview and Palisados. That currently operates substantially independent of it because it's a well system. The Mona.
So there are no
system,
restrictions.
No.
In that eastern side at the moment.
No, sir.
Okay.
Right. The Mona and the Hope systems rely heavily on river flows.
Yes.
The Hope River, the Yalas River, and those feed into those two systems. Those we're seeing more than 50% decline with those. If you drive up on Garden Town Road, you'll see.
I'm going to just ask you one moment if you can hold the thought because we impinged a little bit in terms of the break. But
no
hold
problem.
the thought. Just didn't want to cut you off like that, but hold the thought, sir. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
The time that Grace could move is
7:47.
We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together. Because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with Grace.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and we're having a very important conversation with Delano Williams, Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the National Water Commission, and the topic is water restrictions are here again. Mr. Williams, just before the break, sir, you were making a couple of points outlining for us some of the issues in terms of restrictions, etc. Please continue, sir.
No problem. Right. So what we find is the inflows to the Hope system
depend
and
on river flows.
Yes, we rely heavily on river flows, and when these rivers are in spate, you're literally looking at some instances 40 million gallons of water from the Hope, which could literally serve the entire city.
Yeah.
But when they are low, you're getting less than a million. So that's how drastic the change has been with the recent dry spell, and which has now become a drought. So the Hope system serves Hope Pastures areas and all those areas along Hope Road going down to Ligony area.
Yeah.
So those communities will also see some influence on their water supply and the adjustment to between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
You did mention, however, that there were communities that would receive water in the reverse in terms of time, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Would you like to elaborate on that or tell us about that?
Yes. All right, let me just finish with the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The last set of areas below Ligony down to Waterloo Road, those are also slated to be timed between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Waterloo Road, Surbiton, Devon Road in that vicinity, Trafalgar, roads coming off Trafalgar and Knutsford Boulevard.
So they're not quite halfway tree, but they're a little bit above, adjacent or above halfway tree.
Pretty much,
in the vicinity of where you have, you said West Waterloo, Devon House, Mega Mart as well, which is Waterloo.
Those are on actually the two networks merged there, and those are on the Constant Spring network, which we've also timed it so that that area also gets water between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Okay.
So you were asking me about the reverse. Let's switch over to the Constant Spring network.
Yes.
The areas above Ministry of Justice, or where some persons know Marketplace,
to be
On,
situated
on Constant Spring Road.
on Constant Spring Road.
Yes.
So all the areas above it, talking about everywhere from that intersection going back up to Manor Park, Mannings Hill Road, Charlton Road, the roads on Red Hills,
The Constant
the
Spring
roads,
Tax Office area there.
yes,
Immaculate
and
Conception High School.
pretty much,
Yes.
and extending all the way across to Havendale, Roehampton,
Yes.
Patrick City, Pembroke Hall.
Yeah.
Those communities are slated to be served evening time between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. What we're the narrative, the rationale
What
for
about the? I know I'm intervening here, but what
no
about
problem.
the other side of the boulevard, across from Pembroke Hall? That
Which is
side, which is more sort of like, is that side more like Waterhouse, Washington Gardens, depending on the side, depending on where along that side of the boulevard you're speaking about.
right. So those areas will get water 6 a.m.
to 6 p.m.
Right.
But
right.
but then on the other side of the boulevard now, where you have
Yes.
Pembroke Hall, hope my geography is correct, where you have
Yes.
Pembroke Hall, Duane Park, Patrick City,
Patrick
they are
City.
in the
Yes.
reverse. It is 6
Yes.
p.m. to 6 a.m.
Right.
I see. Interesting.
Yes. So we've had to break it into segments because the obvious is that we do not have enough water to meet the full demand. We're looking at between 38 and 40 million gallons historically.
Yeah.
Right? Now, with about half of that
And
water.
again, I'm asking this for clarity.
Yes.
This would apply also to areas such as Upper Red Hills Road.
Yes.
I see.
Queensboro, Queensberry.
Yes.
Where are we missing? I think we've captured most of them.
Going up into Red Hills now?
Yes. No, Red Hills starts on a different network. We call it the Forest Hills network.
They are not affected by these restrictions?
Not by these. They have a different set of regulations that have been in play.
I see.
And we expect to improve that in the next 2 years when we complete.
But they are not affected by the current 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I see.
Once you get onto, so everything we're talking about runs along Perkins at the foot of Red Hills, but not up on Red Hills.
Not up on the where it starts to climb the hill.
No.
I see.
Right.
I see.
All right. So those are the 6 p.m.
to 6
communities. And we're until 6 a.m. the following morning.
Yes. So you have to make preparations on the flip side.
Yes.
To ensure that you are okay in terms of, but you see, we're now in the summer and children are at home, and those children are at home in the days. I mean, not every child is at summer school. So we're talking about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with no water. Any words for the wise where children are at home in particular?
Store where you can, because here's the narrative.
And older persons too who may not be working but they are at home.
Similarly, we understand the challenges with those, which is why we've tried to supply as best we can during the evening. So what we've had to do is to look where the majority of the population will be active within a time frame. The areas above Queensberry, Queensboro, Perkins, Duane Park, Valentine Gardens, all of those areas are highly domicile areas. So persons tend to be home.
Yeah.
We're not saying there are no business places, but persons tend to be home in a larger volume than in the evening than during the daytime.
Yeah.
So we are striving to, and the beg your pardon, the measurements that we've done show us that the demand for water is several times higher during the evening.
Yes.
Similarly, the areas below Ministry of Justice, which is Halfway Tree, Hagley Park, Maxfield areas, the demand for water is higher during the daytime because there are obviously a lot more business and manufacturing.
So you took that into consideration when you set
That's
these
what we did.
hours?
Yes, that's what we did. Yes.
Yes. You didn't just
Right.
pluck something out of a hat and said,
No.
this applies to you.
We'd ideally now, going back to the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. people, we'd ideally want to go further, to say maybe up to later. But the demand and the supply don't match, meaning the demand so far exceeds it that we have to shut down at 6 p.m. to allow for whatever water is coming in from the rivers to build up storage so we can distribute by the following morning.
This raises a number of other issues, too many to go through on the morning watch. But how long will all these restrictions last? Do you expect them to last, I should probably say, or ask? And what about other measures to mitigate, such as maybe water trucks or other initiatives that could be used or embarked upon to reduce the pressure of these restrictions? Starting with the whole matter of how long might this last?
Well, we based on the projections from the Met Office, it is expected that we will get into September, early October for before the restrictions are lifted. Based on the projections, if we get more rains and significant rains, then whatever improvement we see in these storage facilities, we will naturally
these are modern times, Mr. Williams. Can't you just see the clouds?
If I can't do it,
just see the clouds. See the clouds. Let it rain.
If you provoke the clouds now, you have a ripple effect later down.
And
always remember that.
Other measures such as maybe water trucks or something like that.
Right. So what we've done is to activate our trucking. We've also activated some wells that we typically have to rest because they may not be able to sustain a 12-month round supply.
Yeah.
So we have a system called Beverly Hills. We have another system called Cavaliers and one called Montgomery Corner.
Yeah.
Those are situated close to our Morrisco Road office. And those will supplement the water that we're getting from our Mona system. We also are importing more water based on the gains that we have made. In St. Catherine, we have a little surplus that we can bring in via ferry into the western side of the city.
Forgive me, Mr. Williams, did you mention whether the 6 a.m. and the 6 p.m. access to water, if I could use that term, applies to Long Mountain, Beverly Hills? Did you say that?
Yeah, man. So all these areas, it applies for them.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of the system you referred to as Beverly Hills, and you mentioned a couple of other names as well. Can you just repeat what that's about?
So the Beverly Hills system is a well.
A well. Okay.
Yes. So it's a well that we use it. As I said, for some months of the year, we have to shut it down periodically to allow it to replenish.
It helps to supplement the water supply in times such as
from
this.
Mona. Yes.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
So it serves a part of Beverly Hills, that Beverly Hills Long Mountain area, and also comes down on Old Hope Road, heading into areas like Mountain View, Vineyard Town, and so on.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And any other words for the wise you want to leave with us, because we
really want to appeal to the public for their understanding. We know it's a frustrating time.
And by the way, just to throw this one, quickly, just if I could just ask, washing your car, you said not in a wanton way, but you do have some businesses that engage in car washing.
Which is why, so we are not in a prohibition notice.
So they can continue as long as they don't waste the water.
Right. We're just asking persons generally to conserve.
Mr. Williams,
where you can reuse water, do that.
Mr. Williams, we have to leave it there this morning because we're completely and totally out of time. I want to thank you for that last bit you told us there. But I want to thank you, sir, for spending some time with us and the viewers and listeners to this program today. Thank you for your time and for your thoughts, sir, and your contribution, and have an excellent day.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, listeners and viewers, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And of course, visit our Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica, and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, Love 101 FM, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. Thanks to our producer Kathy Gale and to our guests. Join me tomorrow as I look at other issues of the day. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing you back Love in the Morning with Chicago.
Truth is, you can live life to the fullest with HIV. This time,